Hello, everyone. Today is Tuesday, July 1st, week 13, class 2 of Hotel Evening and Weekend Platoon. Today, we're going to continue with DRF. Um, but before we start, what questions do you have about week 13, day 1, which was yesterday? If you're wondering why I sometimes speak slow when I'm describing what week it is, because I actually have to think about it, even though I'm looking right at it. Anyway, any big macro questions from yesterday about what DRF is, what Django is? No, no big questions. Okay, what do we use DRF for? Oh, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. What's Django? I think I asked you that like last week when I talked to. What's Django? I'm looking for just a very simple answer, and I'm never looking to trick you. So what is it?
It helps you build your backend for
Yeah, but
web.
what is it?
ORM.
Yeah, but simpler. Django is just a what?
Framework.
Yeah, it's just a framework, just code that someone else wrote. Okay, so that's Django. What's DRF then? You guys didn't
Uh,
wonder what was different about it?
it's the it allows you to incorporate APIs into your Django framework.
It allows you to build APIs. Yes, that's the one thing you have to remember. It allows you to build APIs that return what kind of data?
JSON.
JSON. And once your DRF grabs that JSON data, it can kick it up to your front end, right? And you can do what with it?
You can view it.
You can view it. That's it. So this concept of views, of class-based views, is really, really important. When you show a user information, it's just a view. You're requesting a certain amount of information and you're showing it to the user. Are you effectively altering your database when you're showing something to the user?
No.
No, right? And we've already gone through Postgres and we've talked about foreign keys and how tables are linked together. And when you're inserting data into those tables, right, every one of those columns, right, is unique and possibly could point to another table depending on what it is, right? And it starts kind of becoming this unwieldy, right, like blob of information, right? That it would be really inefficient to alter if someone requested that information. So the concept of views is actually going to be really, really, really important, and how to efficiently pull information from whatever backend you have, right, and show it to the user. Know exactly where that information is and show it to the user or whoever's requesting it, right? That doesn't mean you alter your backend. It just means you pull the information that the user requested. That's a really conceptually, that's a really important thing that you need to keep in mind. Makes sense.
Yeah.
In programming and in like data engineering, very, very important. And once you get into that, this idea of optimizing how you store information and optimizing how you pull the information from your backend, from your database, and show it to your users or send it where it needs to go, that's more or less the crux to all of data engineering, which is a subset of software engineering. Okay, awesome. So that's just kind of a broad overview of what you guys learned yesterday and just some things that I thought were important to mention before we jumped into day two. Alrighty, you guys can see my GitHub, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty, I'm going to try to go a little slower. Feel free to follow along. All right, so day two, expanding endpoints and implementing tests. Today we're going to cover custom URL endpoints and testing URL endpoints. Your starter code, you can pull it from here. I checked the link already, it does work. I'm a little traumatized when it doesn't. So you can pull from day five, or you can use what you have from yesterday. Ideally, I would use what you have from yesterday, even if it doesn't quite work, and kind of try to figure out why it doesn't and kind of build from there. That's what I would do. However, if you try and it doesn't work, feel free to pull from this repo.
That
All right.
repo link does not work for me. I'm getting a 404.
Same.
Okay, I am going to put it in the questions channel.
Yeah,
And
none of them have been working actually.
Yeah, rebuild them too. Like I wanted to get a fresh start.
Give me a second. I'm going to throw it in the questions. Check if you can open this. If not, I might just
I got
give
a
you
work I got a working example. Full working example.
of this.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I'm
can
going to do too. I
I
could
can
drop this in there.
Yeah, that link does not work.
No worries. Give me 1 second. Don't even worry. Can you drop yours in the question channels, Cisco? I'll drop this one
sure.
too.
Let me pull it up here.
Go. I dropped the zip of it anyway, and Cisco's going to drop his, so feel free to use those. What ended up happening? I don't know if anyone's explained this to you. When they ended up cloning the repos, the links broke. So we're in the process of fixing that. Sorry about that. That's on us. Okay, but problem fixed. You're going to have 2 working copies. Yes? Alrighty. So by the end of this lesson, you will have a better understanding of flexible endpoints and how to implement tests to both URLs and views. So expanding endpoints. Let's expand on the current endpoints and create the ability to grab a single specific instance from our database. Now, in order for a user to request a specific Pokemon instance, we need to give our user a way to give us the specific information either through the body of the HTTP request or in the URL itself. What is this saying here? What is this telling us?
When they use the website, they have to be able to, or like what they input has to be written down, I guess.
Yeah,
Recorded.
you're kind of on the right track. In order for a user to request this specific Pokemon, right? The backend needs to know what? You don't have to have the right answer, just a general idea.
The,
I'm speaking big
the,
picture here.
the backend needs to know which Pokemon exactly you want by its ID, I guess.
Exactly. Right. It could be ID, it could be a hash, it could be a string name. You have it mapped to a color. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. But you could if red meant Charmander and yellow meant Pikachu, right? You need to send it information, exactly like I said. In the request, in the body, it should say, hey, which Pokemon do you want? Or in the URL itself. Yes? Do you ever go to like a website? Like, I don't think I've logged into my bank account here, but let's just go 123 fake bank, bankbank.com. Uh, you ever see like a really long URL sometimes when you log into your bank or something? You ever see something like this? You're like, wow, that's a really long URL. Does anyone know what this is? Well, all of it is a URL, but the back end of it, what is it? Does anyone know?
That's just more or less is just an ID or a hash.
It's not an ID, it's a hash.
Yeah.
It's a hash that does what? Does anyone know?
It's a hash that encrypts what the actual data is, I guess.
It doesn't encrypt, it authenticates,
I think, yeah.
right? It says, hey, this is Guillermo, right? Give them access to that account. And typically I'll have a TTL. Anybody know what a TTL is? I have a time to live. That means that URL is only good for, 10 minutes or 5 minutes, right? For security reasons. Like we can access that. You ever log into your bank account and you just leave it there, you come back and then you try to click on something and it redirects you to the main page to log in again. That's what's happening. All right. So here you're actually also sending it information. You're not just sending it, hey, which Pokemon do you want? You're sending it credentials and saying, hey, I am who I say I am. Give me access to this. Make sense? Right. So the backend has to know, right, what exactly you're requesting. And you have to send it information. Okay, so Django has a couple built-in parameters we can add to our URLs, but the purpose of this course will focus on str, int, and custom URL parameters. Str and int parameters. In this case, we're telling Django that after Pokemon, we will receive an integer and it will be ended. This goes all the way over here. Ended by a slash, right? Pretty simple, right? This looks really familiar to what in Python? Anybody know? This is just a what? If you don't know any better. If you only knew Python, what does this look like, this string?
Variable?
Yeah, this is a variable, but I'm really talking about this right here. This is just a what? In Python. If you only knew Python, this kind of looks like a what? What kind of string? Look at this right here. This gives it away.
Dictionary?
No. An F string, right?
Yeah.
Right? I didn't have that loaded. Give me a second. I have it here. It literally looks like it looks like this, right? Right? It looks exactly like that, right? That's exactly what it is. Alrighty. So there you go. So this is going to take, and it tells you right there, right? This is just going to be swapped, right, with an integer. That's the ID. And the bottom one, the only difference is that instead of an integer, we want a string. Make sense? This is just a parameter in the URL that says, hey, grant me this specific Pokemon. All right. Now, what if I needed my API to be flexible and to be able to take in both int and string? Well, Django doesn't provide an option for this. So you need to create a custom endpoint. So here, you're going to create a converter. And this is just a class, int or string converter. The regex attribute is a regular expression that matches any sequence of digits or alphabetic characters. So what is this doing right here? Remember what we're trying to do. We're trying to tell Django that, hey, accept an integer or a string. Because Django already has a built-in built-in syntax for integers and strings if they're passed as query parameters, but it doesn't have a built-in for if it's an integer or a string. So let's create one. This is what this converter is going to do. All right, so let's walk through it. You're going to create a class called int or string converter. You're going to do a regex match, right? You're going to create a function that does what?
Will return whatever the input is as an integer or a string.
Yeah, that's it. It's a function. Well, it's a class as a built-in function, right? That's going to take a parameter value and it's going to actually just check if it's a digit. If it's a digit, send it as an integer. If it's not, cast it as a string and return it, right? So it knows which of these to use. So these are already built in to Django, right? But if you needed something to account whether it was an integer or a string, you could easily use a converter. Now that we can import this class into the Pokemon app, urls.py, and register it as a converter for URL parameters as such. So go into your, and I already did this actually, I can pull it up. So we're going to go into our Pokemon app. I can delete this. We're going to go into our Pokemon app and we're going to go into converters, right? And that's just a converter that I literally just copy and pasted from here, right? Now we can import this class into Pokemon app URLs and register it as a converter for URL parameters as such. All right, so we're going to go to Pokemon apps URLs, shrink this, and then move everything separately. Sorry, got lost track. Okay, cool. I'm going to go to Pokemon app and I'm going to go to URLs. You're going to notice I already did this. And the first thing it told me to do was, hey, import it, right? So then I can use it. Someone walk me through this file.
So that's basically creating a path for you to use for the data, and it is registering it. It's registering it, and it's got the URL. It's going to be for all Pokemon, and the name of the the name of the URL, or what you're going to enter in there, is all Pokemon. You're going to basically it looks like it's going to attach the path integer or string dot or integer string ID, and then it's going to select the Pokemon view from the selected Pokemon,
Yeah, based on
the ID.
this, right?
Mhm.
Okay, let's focus on line 10 here and kind of let's see what's happening here. We're importing register converter from Django URLs, right? All right, so, and we're passing in from converters this. So let's go here. Let's open this. Let's put them side by side here. I didn't mean to do that. All right, Let's try this. Okay. So I am importing this class, right? I'm instantiating that class, right? And then doing what?
Yeah, in order to use it, in order to use it, it's basically just going to run that function that you created to do the conversion.
Yes. Good. Alrighty. So now that we have a URL pattern established and created a type for the URL, what's the URL pattern that we established? We just talked about it. Don't overthink, it's right there on the left.
Yeah, you want to type in all underscore Pokemon, and then it should be a backslash after that. And what?
Yeah, just the query parameter.
Oh,
The
okay.
last
Yeah.
part.
Just the ID.
Not quite, but this, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Which ends up being the suffix, right? All right, and created a type of URL parameter, but how does it connect to our views? In Pokemon app views, let's create a select Pokemon view that will take in the GET request and the ID of the Pokemon the user is looking for and returns an individual Pokemon instance. So in Pokemon app views, right, we're going to create this specific class. Select Pokemon API view. Specify the method to trigger this behavior. It's a GET request, right? We already got self and request, and then it takes in a very important what? Going to take a very important what?
Number.
Yeah, it's going to take a number or a string because you have the converter now, right? It's going to take this parameter, right? And it's going to try to get it, right? This, it sets Pokemon to none. It says ID is an int type. If it's an int, right? Pokemon equals Pokemon objects get by ID. ID will become that int, grab it and put it in the variable Pokemon that was initially initialized to none. So now it's going to be holding, if this is true, Pokemon will hold whatever Pokemon, the ID that was passed into it. Else, Pokemon objects, right, get ID title. Since the Pokemon is a single instance, it needs to be wrapped in brackets to make it. To make it, I don't know what that means. Okay. Oh, to make it an iterable. Why did they just make this a long? Yeah, to make it an iterable. Okay, good. Iterable for the serialize function to turn it into a binary string. This is like some esoteric knowledge that you don't really have to think too much about, but just know that in Django, in order for the serialize function to work properly, right, you need to wrap it in brackets and make it a list. Don't overthink that any more than you need to. So just keep that in mind. A binary string is just zeros and ones. All right, JSON Pokemon, serialized JSON, right? And then you pass in that Pokemon in a list. Serialized Pokemon loads Pokemon, right? And this is getting the first index because for this reason, right? It needs to be serialized in a list, but once it loads, right, you want to just grab the first element, right? Because you don't want to return a list, you want to just return that Pokemon. right? And then it loads your specific Pokemon, right? With it appears to be the moves that it has. And it returns your serialized response. What's serialization? What's serialization? You're going to do this a lot. So what is it?
Doesn't serializing take it from, it just basically puts it in the form, a readable form.
Readable for who?
Us.
Oh, not you, you almost got it. Not quite us, but you serialize it, right?
For the computer to
Yeah,
be
for the
able to.
computer to read it, right? I believe it's called deserialize. Is that the word? Deserialize it so humans can read it,
Right.
right? But we can't read serialized data typically. We do it because the computer can understand it. And sometimes it's the only way the computer can send it or store it,
Mm.
right? And if you want a cool little example of this, do me a favor. And here's a little challenge for you. Try to pick your favorite image, your favorite meme, try to store it in a Postgres database. Tell me how that works. All right, put that to the side. And if you're bored on a Saturday night, give it a shot. Let me know what happens. All righty. So that's what this is. We're just turning it into a format that the computer can understand, right? So they can store it, you know, send it somewhere, do whatever it is they need to do. All right. So users can now get a single Pokemon instance by either Pokemon's name or Pokemon's ID. Now let's create a URL path and view for grabbing a single Pokemon move by name. So in the Move app, you're going to copy and paste this right here. And this is going to be your new path. What's going to be the query parameter of this path?
A string name,
Of what?
Pokemon.
Not the Pokemon, but be more specific, the Pokemon's what?
Oh, the move. I'm sorry.
The move. Like electric shock or fire blast or whatever Pokemon moves they have. Hydro cannon. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what you're creating here. All right, so now we can create a selected move class and take in the name parameter. So this does the exact same thing. Hey, look, I'm creating another API view and I'm passing in self because it's a class. It's a request, but as a parameter, I'm taking a name. And this name is just going to be a string that corresponds to a move of a certain Pokemon, right? So I'm going to go ahead and serialize that data. I'm going to load it, grab the first one, and I'm going to return the response with move. If I wanted to create, if I wanted to create a URL and a view to grab a Pokemon, by color and type, how would I do it? Actually, let's do something simpler, just by color. If I wanted to grab a Pokemon, let's say there's only like 5 Pokemon in there. Let's say I want to grab a Pokemon by color and I want to create a URL for it. How would I write it?
Well, you would have to create wouldn't you have to create a color app for starters?
What would I create first?
A color app, a new app for it.
Yes, right?
Okay.
So I'd create a move app. I could create a color app, but
Mhm.
I'm just asking about the URLs. I'm not getting too
Oh, okay.
complicated here.
Okay.
So this right here, right? If I wanted to grab a Pokemon by color, how do I alter this?
You're just gonna change the well, selected, I guess selected color would be, you want to call it selected color, I guess, as view. And name it select color, selected color. If you want to change that string to color, you could too, I guess, instead of just name, but yeah,
And I would have to make sure that I have what class that's being imported.
you have to make sure you have well, I guess Pokemon, right?
I would have to have, instead of selected move, a what?
Selected color.
Instead of move, color.
Mhm.
How about on line 3, Guillermo? Like instead of all moves, it'd be all colors, maybe.
Yep.
Mhm.
Just
Move.
showing you that, hey, we've given you everything that you need. It's about you understanding the concept, and you can literally copy paste edit and add it, add what you need, just like that. I know that was pretty simple, but I just wanted you guys to see that.
Mhm.
Um, so Streety for forward right here. Alrighty, so testing our API endpoints. As you can see, our apps are becoming, what are apps in a Django project?
What are apps in the Django project?
Yeah. If you're confused by the terminology, I am too. I think it's a terrible name for it, but it is what it is.
It's just a, is it endpoint?
No, but what are apps, right? Here, I actually did part of this assignment already. This is a Pokemon app, right? I have this move app,
Mm-hmm.
right? I could have a color app, I suppose.
Class.
Yeah, but
Okay,
they're just what?
different
They're
table
Modules?
sometimes, right? But they're just different,
pages.
not always, but yeah, sometimes.
Categories? I don't know.
Yeah, they're kind of like, it's hard to explain. Just different functionality or features almost. That might be slightly off, right? But here, let's think about this. Um, oh, that was supposed to be in here. Delete. Um, why is that doing that? Sorry. Oh, this is Amazon. Give me all the apps within Amazon.
Amazon Prime.
Give me another app. This is literally just a thinking exercise.
AWS.
Why does it keep? Am I just
Because they're-
nesting all of them?
Because
I think I'm just nesting. Yeah, I'm just nesting all of them. That's not what I meant to do, but good enough, guys. See if I can fix this and make it less dumb. There you go. What other app we got?
Delivery.
Prime app. Yeah, I suppose that could be one. Yeah. You get the idea?
yeah,
That's just what they are. To me, they're like features, right? But I agree with you. The name app within the Django application, really bad naming, but it is what it is. We didn't create it, so we're stuck using it. Yeah. Actually, when you get to React, React does the same thing. It's annoying. But you'll be prepared to. Okay, cool. That's nothing. All right, back to this. All right, as we see our apps becoming more and more complex as the relationships grow, in order to test them both correctly, we'll have to do a bit of folder restructuring. So let's get started. On the same level as your apps project, create a new directory called tests, and I already have this, right? I can delete this because we weren't using that, but create inside your Django Pokemon example, when you work through this, right? You just create a test folder right there. On this, this is root. At the root level, you'll have Pokemon app, Pokedex project, and then move app. Inside the test file, then you're going to start creating your test. You're going to create a test model py and move all the pre-existing tests into this file. Once you've done that, you can delete the test.py file in each app. I don't think I even did this, but you can go into your apps and delete the test py file once you move all the tests into your test folder. I can delete this, move app. I didn't have one in there. Okay, cool. And then you're just going to test from your test folders. You can see I already created some of those. Alrighty, here you're just going to copy the test. So super, super, super important. Don't alter the test initially. Try to run them after you build this out and see what errors you're getting. I think that's part of the lesson here down here. So just copy and paste this, create these tests, and see how many errors you have. And inside the test directory, you're going to also create a test views to test the views. And you can copy and paste this. Notice that it's going to try to get you with some misspelled names. So maybe like a regex max might be a good way of implementing your functionality, because your test will check for that. This is something that doesn't give you, it's going to ask you to create a move app, right? But it doesn't give you any of the tests for them. So that's going to be something that you're going to have to create. But here's a hint, just model them after the test that they've already created. Very simple. I would literally just copy and paste this and then change the names of it. I'd be like, okay, move. Now I'm testing move as opposed to Pokemon app. Then you'll create a test URLs py file where you can ensure the correct path and view is attached to each URL. Again, it only gives you one test, right? But you have to test all the remaining endpoints. That's part of the assignment. And then ultimately just run your test suite with Python manage.py test run tests. What's a really important thing to keep in mind as you're creating these apps and writing your classes? What's one thing you shouldn't forget to do?
Make the migrations.
Yes. Yeah, when I was playing with this earlier, that's the one thing I kept forgetting. You need to make sure to make your migrations right after your changes and make sure all that is well and good before running your test. When in doubt, just run your migrations again. Takes 2 seconds, right? Then run your tests. Because if you keep getting the same errors and you keep making changes, but your errors don't change, you probably didn't make your migrations properly. Make sense?
Yeah.
What's something you could do? Give me 1 second. All right. Instead of remembering to do your migrations every single time, you could just easily create what? No, you've done it with Docker.
The script for it, like a build script.
Yeah. And something I didn't mention before, guys, you guys should have like a plethora of those little scripts, man. Like, think of all the work you've done before, create like a little folder and create your own little scripts, right? That do that. As long as you understand every line that's going in there, it's not bad to have already like a library of scripts that you use frequently, right? Even building those scripts out is going to teach you a lot. And I'm going to actually pause the recording here. Back to this. So a super important thing, I would start creating those bash scripts now because right now you're still going through the curriculum. Once you get to your personal project and you get to the group project, you're going to be running, you're going to be dropping tables, you're going to be initializing containers over and over and over and over again. And it's just going to be really awesome if you already had some of those scripts. And if you already have it built out and some of the names change slightly, that's fine. Go in there and edit your script and it's still good to go. Right? So that's what I would do. Make sense?
Yeah.
And this is a little too high speed for you guys right now, right? But you could ultimately have those scripts on your computer and you could even alias your terminal command into running your scripts, right? So it could be something as simple as gmod run, and it runs a specific script that is aliased in my terminal.
Mm.
Makes sense? I know people that do that at work that will like lint a lot of their code before they even try to push it anywhere, right? Because some of their repos won't have linting built in or they haven't configured the everything yet. So they'll personally write a script that all their code, like where it says like push to GitHub, and it could be as simple as push to GitHub. That's not a real Git command, by the way. But if you have an alias to that, it can be. And it'll run through their code wherever they have their code, clean it up, and then ship it all in one. So it'll be something like push code, and then they'll put like a string on it, which will be the commit. But they already have a script that does everything for them.
Mhm.
So that's how you can start automating kind of like everything that you're doing. Oh, another thing. Oh, never mind. That's enough for now. Questions about what we discussed?
No.
How awesome scripts are, bash scripts, anyway. Well, all scripts, actually. Oh, last one, I promised. Last one at scripts. So the calendar, you know how we rotate it in hotel evening and weekend platoon? How Jordan is like the floater Saturday and whoever doesn't teach during the week teaches Saturday? He was running, and I'm going to record this so he knows. He had like 16 events and he didn't know how to manage them. Well, guess what? Google Calendar has an API. What did I do? I created a little Python script. So now it auto-populates all the calendars with all the names, right? And I can even show you just very briefly. You see this? Yes. So this is kind of a pain in the ass. If you see this, this is actually wrong. You see that? It says week 3, day 1. That's because he created like 16 different events. And he actually had it down from like, I don't even know, 50. I don't know how many he had, because he couldn't figure out how to automate it. But eventually figured out there was an API, but then he didn't want to like read the docs and figure it out. But I read the docs and I wrote a script for it. Now it will populate each person's name with the right rotation and the right week. So this should be week 13, day 1. This should be week 13. And the reason the weeks are off is because these are different events, not just one event. But if you can just script it, then it's automatic, right? So I scripted this. I mean, your schedule's all messed up on our end, but we'll be good for India. Look at that. Real life examples of how you can use it. Cool, right? Am I the only one excited about that? Maybe. But you can do that in your life too. All right. So back to this. So this is what's going to happen right meow. How far are you guys on School API 6, which is the assignment for today? I mean, School API 5. 6 is for today. I meant 5.
I got 5 working.
All right, so you got 5. All right. Anyone else?
I was working on the validators.
Okay.
Getting there. I keep running into issues with running the tests. But yeah, I'm probably just gonna restart this one fresh, quite frankly.
Okay, API 5.
No, to go into 6, but
Okay, that's
yeah.
fine. Everyone else?
I got part 1 done. So I'm working on part 2.
API 5.
Yes.
Okay.
I got one of the URLs working, but the other one I was still having issues with.
Okay. Good stuff. What do you guys think it's a better use of your time, that you continue with API 5 so you can get to API 6, or that you run through the Pokemon assignment first before getting to API 6? Because you can technically just use this Pokemon assignment as just kind of something to follow for work through API 6. You don't necessarily have, I think there's value in doing it if you have time, but I feel like we're already so cramped for time. What do you guys think?
I vote for Pokemon.
I had already started building API 6 during the meeting, so I vote the opposite.
Anyone else?
It doesn't matter. I already got the the new one pretty much
All
done,
righty.
except for one test.
What
Got
a
it.
show off, Cisco.
That's all right, guys.
Well, I was doing it while he was going through it.
Yeah. All right, guys. So how about this? Just do the follow along Pokemon if you have time or you want to. If not, go straight into fixing, keyword here, fixing API 5 if you haven't finished it, and then move on to API 6. And we'll have people present hopefully later in the day. But right now it's already 6:32. Definitely take like an 18-minute break, grab a snack, come back at 6:50, and I'll have the breakout rooms open. That work?
All right, yeah.
All righty, guys. How we doing, guys?
Good.
How far are you on API 6, Cisco?
Oh, I haven't started on that one yet.
What? You made it seem like you were finishing up 5. Get out of here.
Well, no, I was done with 5. I was doing the Pokemon one.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to finish or not yet?
Yeah, I got it done.
Oh, so now you're gonna go on 6?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you run into any errors on the Pokemon one?
Yes, I did. So the tests were mainly the only things I ran into. There were some typos, I guess, again, with the assert equal. Assert equal was assert was capitalized, with the uppercase A instead of a lowercase a. Yeah, there was two tests on that.
Did you get all of them to pass?
Yes, I did.
Can you post a test in the hotel questions channel, please?
Yeah.
I run into the same thing. That's why I was asking you.
Okay.
Sweet. What about everyone else? Where are we at?
Making my models API 6.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Nicole?
I'm still on 5. I have a couple of tests that keep failing. I think I have 3 left to get to pass.
How many were you before?
A lot more.
Okay, good stuff.
It's going through, and I had to change the assert underscore again, and then I was having issues because I named instead of class, I did classes.
Okay.
So I'm just had to go through but I'm having a and then changing out the error messages so they kind of match, but I've only got a couple left to do.
Gotcha. Sounds good. I don't know, you guys probably don't remember this, but when we were doing Postgres a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you guys noticed that I named one of my class models user, and that's a reserved word in Postgres. That was part of the error I was getting. So after the class ended, I looked at it, I was like, this is so stupid. What's going on? And I Googled it. And sure enough, it was a reserved word. I just hadn't used Postgres in so long, I forgot. So that's totally understandable. Joe?
I'm working on 6 right now. But I got a ways to go.
Where are you at specifically?
Um, Basically I just recloned it down. I'm working on like setting everything up. So I got 5 to work, but the tests were throwing errors nonstop. So I kind of just said, I'm done with this one, and I'm moving on to 6.
Gotcha. You guys could try TDD. That's how I actually end up doing a lot of your lessons. I'll just run the test first, and then I'll start with test 1, and I'll look, okay, what is it asking for? Okay, then I'll build that part and run it again until that one passes. Then I'll do the same thing with 2 and 3 until I have no tests left. So that definitely is a way to do it.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Cisco.
I was just going to say, I commented, so I went to each file and commented out everything from the other files and just ran pass for those. And I just went through each file, ran one test at a time, just to make sure they all passed. And as I went through each test, I just uncommented, tested, pass, and go to the next file, test, pass, so on and so forth. So that helped me a lot.
Thank you for mentioning that. Don't forget, you can alter the test and put a pass in, right? Or you can just uncomment them out temporarily. If it that's actually probably I don't think they taught you this. That's a great way to do it. You know what else you could do that's actually a little bit faster? Research fast fail in your test. I don't think they taught you this. Fast fail. So if it fails the first one, it stops.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? There's no point in scrolling across 10 tests,
Right.
So you can comment that out, or you can research fast fail, hint, right? And if it fails the first one, it exits immediately. That way you can go one by one. And think about it. If you pass the first one, fast fail will fail at 2. If it passes the first 2, fast fail will only show you 3 if it fails, or 4, and so forth. Make sense? It's actually faster than commenting things out. So there you go. Homework assignment number 2, research fast fail. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I posted this little script, right? That to me made sense. And you can definitely copy it. Let's walk through it. This is exactly what we were talking about before we went on break. So from the beginning in Bash, echo is just print in Bash. This is starting Django migrations. And this is just a check. I don't expect you to know this, but this is just checking the directory. And it's checking, hey, is there a virtual environment in this directory? If there is, activate it. If there isn't, it throws an error, but you could easily do what instead?
Create a virtual environment.
There we go. You could have easily, and that's another homework assignment for you. Hey, if it doesn't have one, don't throw an error. That doesn't help me. Why don't you just create one? That'd be dope. Okay. FI, end of script. Okay, echo, deleting existing migration. I don't want any problem. Do you need this? No. But in my head, whatever's in there, just delete it. I'm gonna start from scratch, especially because I'm not doing it manually. So delete everything there. Echo, existing migration files got deleted. Now I'm gonna create the new migrations from the Move app and the Pokemon map. If I had more apps, I'd literally just copy, paste, edit, and do the next step, right? Then Python migrate. And I took it one step further, or two steps further. I said, hey, run my test too. Because after my changes and my migrations, I want you to run my test immediately because I want to see, did I make any progress, right? And then deactivate my virtual environment, right? But this is optional. This, you could actually even create one and deactivate it or leave it on, however you want to do it, right? You could actually even add more logic and account for all the use cases. If there isn't a virtual environment, create it, then run everything, right? Then leave the virtual environment on or off, however you want. So this is what I did. So feel free to copy and paste it. And what I did is I just put it right here so you could see it. But I could easily just have a folder on my desktop and throw it in there and have a bunch of scripts, right? And then what I was telling you, you can alias it, right? I called it run tests. You see how I highlighted green right there? That's an alias within this shell. I run it, does exactly what I wanted to do. Boom. And migrated everything. I ran all my tests and I passed like 4 of them, whatever. Because that's exactly, you know, what I didn't do, because I just thought of when I was talking to you, right? Why don't I do a fast fail right here on line 28? That'd be cooler, right? And I can show you, I literally just went into my shell and I'm using ZSH. Was it Shipchi? And I literally I wrote this comment right here, test, right? And I just alias run tests, right? But this can be anything. It doesn't matter what this is, right? And I gave it this string. I said, hey, CD, curly brace means from anywhere in your directory tree, CD into desktop, Tuesday, which is the folder that I literally created right before this class, the Pokemon example, and run this script, right? But this could easily just be desktop, bash scripts, run migrations and tests, right? Or bash scripts, launch Docker container, or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
So exit WQ, right? And then I can source the specific bash file, which in my case is a ZSH, right? But if it was a bash, you just source it. That means, hey, reload the file, activate everything in this environment. Now, if you notice, what did I change my alias to? It's going to do the exact same thing, but it's not run tests anymore. It's what?
Migrations.
Pokemon.
No, it's just Pokemon. Notice how it turned green. You can call it whatever you want.
Gotcha.
Questions? You can do that with anything. I think I saw like a reel or something that someone was using just slang terms for their GitHub actions. Like yeet was git push and send it was, I don't know, branch. You can do it. Like it's your terminal. You can craft it however you want. Right? When I push to GitHub, I can type Guillermo's the best. So I remind myself that I'm the best every time I push to GitHub. Make sense?
Yes, DJ Khaled.
All I do is win. I want all the Git commands to be DJ Khaled one-liners. You know? Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Again, we don't really cover bash or bash scripting or anything like that. But it's something that one, you will definitely 100% run into regardless of what field you end up in. Anything techie, even like sysadmins and IT people run into bash scripting or PowerShell scripting. You're going to run into it no matter what. And it's honestly super, super handy to utilize just in your kind of like your everyday life. I think everyone should really learn how to program a little bit. Will make their life really, really easy. My girlfriend has a terrible memory. She forgets everything. And I just tell her, hey, dude, why don't you just create a little app that reminds you or texts you when you have important things? And she's like, oh, I'll get to it. But that'd be like a really useful thing for someone like that to do, right? You could have it send it to you every single morning until you tap, delete or done, right? And it stops pestering you. But you can automate all that stuff. Makes sense?
Yep.
All righty. I'm going to cut you loose again. I just brought you in. I know a little early. I know I didn't give you enough time, but I just wanted to show you that. And that's just one script. If I was you guys, I'd go in there and grab that Docker one that I posted on there probably a couple of weeks ago. I'd grab that one and just start building your arsenal because you're going to use them a lot for your personal project and your group project. Then you can just go in there, edit names, and then you're good to go, right?
Yeah.
Keep all the bash scripts out either in your desktop folder or somewhere in your directory where it's easily accessible and you're not going to delete it. All right, break. Sorry, guys. Okay, so in tech, they're called greenfield projects, and very rarely are you ever going to create something from scratch. Typically, especially at the junior level, you're just going to be fixing stuff that somebody else wrote. So people think, oh, writing code is important. It is important, but what's more important is actually reading other people's code and following the data through the application to be able to fix whatever it is you're going to fix. Because you're going to be given really like small tickets initially, like, hey, fix this config, or hey, why is this URL broken? Or hey, this dependency updated, stuff like that. So you're going to be writing very little code, but reading a ton, especially early on, until you kind of get your feet underneath you, which depending on where you go and how tough it is, could take 3 months. It could take, God, I feel like it took me 3 years, but it just depends where you go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But it was good practice. I'm glad we had the opportunity to work on the Pokemon because it allowed me to just go step by step and almost like I say it almost like like a little workout. Like if you're gonna like work your biceps, but then like you don't get to do that same exercise for like 2 weeks or something like that, then you like it's not really helpful. But if I can do that exercise over again like consecutively, then I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Did anybody figure out the fast fail by chance?
Nope.
Did anyone look at it? That's okay if you didn't. I'm sure you were busy.
No, I didn't look at it.
Okay, give it a shot. Nicole, how'd you end up?
Well, I'm in six now, and I have two failures and one error left to kind of figure out here. Um, I figured out what part of my issues was on my second URL from API 5, and it was because it was class. The variable name was class, so it was getting confused. So it was
Oh,
so I had to change it to like class 1 or something
yeah.
as my variable just to change it from that word. And then once I fixed that, my second URL started working.
So it's a reserved word.
Yeah, so that's why I was using classes, but then I was using classes as the variable and the model name, and then it was getting confused there, so I switched to class, and then it was the reserved word. So I got it to class 1 and got it to work. Um, and then I did go down a little bit of a rabbit hole of trying to figure out how to load data into this because I accidentally wiped my entire thing and didn't feel like inputting it
Manually.
manually through the shell. So I took the test file that we had in I think 6, where it has those fixtures that it uploaded data into it. And I figured out that if I put that in my main one, and then there's a command I could run to load the JSON in.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Nice.
I just copied it into from what the test. I pulled fixtures out into the main one, and then it was like, I forget what the command was, but it was like run this, and you just type in like the classes.json, and it populated the database, and I did that for all of them. But I am having an issue with it now because on the JSON, it used PK as the identifier, and in some of my models, it's ID.
Yep.
So I'm going through and kind of fixing that little thing, but that was a fun little rabbit hole I went on for a little bit.
Yeah. Search replace all instances of, right?
Yep. Yeah. I was like, that was
Ah,
one of the errors I got to where I was like, oh, it's looking for PK and it's saying it doesn't exist or something. And I'm like, or it's looking for ID and it doesn't exist. And I'm like, oh, cool.
how'd you load the data? Do you just run a file or execute a function? What you do?
So what did I do? So like I said, I just copied that same fixtures file out and I copied it into my main like directory.
Can you show us actually? I think this is pretty useful.
Sure. Let me see if I can pull this up. It's this one. Share.
Yeah, we can see it.
Fixtures. I'm just looking up my note for where I put this damn command. See if I can still find it. It was, oh, there it is. Python manage py load data. And then so it was this fixtures file that was here. And
Mhm.
I copied it into my main directory. Um, and then I just ran a command for each file here, classes, grades, students. So it's just Python manage py load data and then the JSON. And then if I go into shell from student at models import student, and then it's what? Student objects dot. Ah, there they are. And so it's if I go into my fixtures and I pull up students, uh, there I got these two. For some reason, yeah, I have the two there. And then if I do class, this really screwed me. I have to I've had to fix class to classes in like every test just because I know it's not going to find class because I
No
named it.
worries. It's like my user Postgres debacle.
Yep. And then nope, sorry. Did it there too. There it is. So then when I go into classes, it has all the classes here. So it imported it.
Dope.
Uh,
Dope, dope, dope.
the only issue I'm having with it right now is it's using this PK. So when I run this one, it's having an issue with it. I haven't exactly figured it completely out yet. Because it's just saying it's 9,251 characters long.
Uh-huh.
But I'm from what I can tell, it's just because it's an issue because in here it's PK, but in I think it's in my models when it's loaded in, it's not PK, it's ID.
Yep.
So
Perfect. Thank you so much. This works.
yeah.
Uh, This is fantastic. Did everyone just listen to what Nicole explained here?
Yeah.
Everything that she went through to load the data and the issue she was having with PK, right?
Mhm.
You see all of her commands. You could have
Yeah.
automated every single one of those in your script if you wanted to.
I have
I
to
mean,
get.
yeah, we're not there yet, but just know you could have. Even the little funky scenario with the PK, you could have done a grep search on the entire directory, did a regex match, quotations PK replaced with ID. Boom. Would have fixed it, right? But I'm just letting you know that everything, it's really important to understand how it works under the hood. But once you do, you can just script all of that stuff. Make sense? I had a feeling you were going to do something like this, Nicole. That's why I asked you to share. That was really good.
I don't like loading data by hand, especially in
Oh,
the
no, no worries.
it's
Yeah.
in the butt.
Yeah.
So
And she picked like a halfway point, right? She didn't, input it manually, but she didn't go as far as to, use a script yet.
mhm.
But what she did was very good. Boom, 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 boom. Uh, that's all we have to today, but I'll share a story, a personal story with you on how someone I thought this was pretty ingenious. I went hiking last weekend and I was with someone I never met, nice guy by the name of Keith. And they hike a lot of mountains out west in the Sierras. And they always do what's that thing? Strava. You guys know Strava? Like like if you go biking or running or swimming, it tracks your activity. You guys know the app?
No,
Yeah, I've
never
heard of
heard
it.
it.
Okay, heard of it. All right, it's just an app that tracks your physical exercise, right? But he wanted his Strava activity of hiking this mountain to show up on another application called Peak Bagger, right? But they didn't play nice together. What did he do? He vibe coded his own application. He's not a programmer, but he used ChatGPT to code a third-party application that when he posted to Strava, it posted to Peak Bagger. Now, it was a little slow because it had to, the app that ChatGPT created for it had to mimic a real user. Because real applications have like anti-bot protocols that, protect it from DDoS attacks and a bunch of security things, right? But he literally vibe coded his thing that when he uploaded to his personal Strava, it would upload to his Peak Bagger app. So he didn't have to do it twice. And I thought that was really, really clever for someone that's not a programmer, right? That is super, super awesome, right? That's normal people like, diving into technology and solving their own problems. And he made a comment about, oh, that I probably can't make it an app because they won't let me sell it. And I was like, you're absolutely right. They would never let you do that. Because one company's not going to let you borrow their data and give it to another company. But nothing stops him from using it for his own personal use. And that's what he did, right? He built something, right, that solves one of his problems. That's a very esoteric, very one of one problem, right? And if everyone could do that, you know, man, that's the world I want to live in. That'd be dope, right?
Mm.
Anyway, pretty sure, and you guys are going to be programmers, so you guys will be able to actually code it out. And I just vibe coded and not know what's happening. But even that I thought was pretty impressive. That person probably could be a programmer if they wanted to. They have all the right tools. They solve their own little problem. They're not going to make any money off of it because of the nature of their little app. But I thought that was pretty ingenious.
Yep.
Anyway, I start thinking like that, right? About what problems can you solve with these tools that you have. Like I showed you that little calendar thing. I mean, that's a kind of a dumb example, but that was really super useful. You know what I mean? I gave you the other example of like forgetting things. You could create a script that reminds you of things on you can integrate your Google Calendar with a to-do list,
Mhm.
right? That if it doesn't get deleted off your calendar, it shows up the next day at the same time. Right. And eventually your calendar is overrun with to-dos until you start getting rid of them. You could have an application that send you text messages too. You can do anything. Make sense?
Yep.
All right, guys. Good class. I don't have anything else for you, although tomorrow is off, and you have a late start on Sunday, 10 a.m. That's what they said, right, Nicole? Hey, actually, last thing, Jordan didn't even give Tiffany a chance to comment on that. Oh, wait, you guys are not. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
I was like, what? What's going on? Anyway, I messaged Tiffany on the side. I'd be like, hey, don't let Jordan push you around. Oh, you're the teacher of that class. You should be able to make the call. Anyway, I'm going to send this clip to Jordan so he knows he's not the boss of us. All right, guys, have a wonderful day.
All right. Good night. Good night,
Good night.
guys.